Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're going to be going all over the globe, looking at different areas. We're going to be looking at different years past. We're going to be looking at different height and inches and numbers. Today we're talking about Terra. This is, as it says, the party game where being close counts. This is from Bezier Games here in the US right now. This is essentially a gamer's trivia game from Freedom and Free, same guy that designed Power Grid. 2 to 6 players, it says 45 minutes. It might be about average, 30 to 45 minutes. Let me show you. Don't turn it off if you don't like trivia typically, because this is something different. Let me show you. I'll see you on the other side. Now in Terra, you're going to be answering questions about areas where things are found around the world, along with years, length and distance, and different types of numbers. Each player is given 5 cubes of their color, and there's an additional cube here that will be used for the scoreboard. Now there are 150 of these trivia cards that are here, and they're double-sided, so there's 300 things in this game that you can play with, and you only play with 6 of these every game. So with the globe facing here, we see, so this is about the strongest earthquake. Now the answers are below here, so you never pull this out until the end, but what we're looking for is the area of the strongest earthquake, the year, and in the magnitude in Richter scale. Now, and this also shows you the area of the map generally where it is, and this is the southwest side of the map. So on the map we have a big compass here, and the south and the west is basically everything down in this quadrant. And looking a little closer, so basically any region that is at least touching the borders of this south and west compass is the area where this the strongest earthquake happened. And if we look even closer, we have different areas, and these areas can be just one country, or they could be just like Amazon basin. Many countries are found in there, and same with the Andes and such like that. There's also regions that are basically, these whole entire sort of ocean regions, or water regions, and in this region can be many islands also that are made up inside of these regions as well. So you have these different regions. So on a player's turn, whoever read the card is going to start first, and you're going to go clockwise. They're going to place one of their cubes. And again, they can place it any one region that's not occupied in the area. They can select a year, or in this case, we're selecting the number, which is the number on the Richter scale. So let's say the person really thinks that this earthquake actually happened in the South Pacific, because some earthquakes happen in the ocean, and that's what causes tsunamis. So they place their cube here. Then it goes to the next player. The next player again can place a cube anywhere in the areas, or they can guess down here. So maybe the next player says, I think it's right here. It's between 5 and 10 on the Richter scale. Maybe the next player says, I think it's in this Patagonia region. And let's say the next player says, well, I think it's in the Andes. And the next player says, you know what, I think it's between 10 and 20 on the Richter scale. Say the white player thinks it was in Brazil. Now this keeps going clockwise, and you can place it in any place that's not already occupied, and it doesn't matter whether you're picking an area, a year, or a number. You can pick as many of these as you want when it's your turn. So again, when it's your turn again, we start back at the top with the blue player, who was the first one. And maybe he says, you know what, I'm still going to stay on area. Maybe he's going to select Amazon basin. And maybe the green player says, you know what, I think it's between 1940 and 1950. I'm going to say that. And the red player says, I think it's between 2 and 5 on the Richter scale. The yellow player says, I think it's in this area here. The white player says, I think it's between 1920 and 1930. The blue player who started again can continue, or they can pass, and they say, you know what, I'm going to go in South Atlantic because maybe I can be adjacent. And what you're trying to do is find exactly where this is, or something that's adjacent to it. And you can see there's different lines that show you what's adjacent to what. And the whole map is sort of like this. Now the next player is green. He looks at the area and goes, you know what, there's not a lot of real choices left. Maybe here. Sure, I'll go here. The green player goes there. Now there's not a lot of regions left. They're pretty much all taxed out. And sometimes this happens. Sometimes people pass, depending on how many regions there are for the card. And let's say every other player passes. They don't want to play anything. They don't want to be wrong, because I'll show you what happens when you're wrong later. So let's say everyone else passes. As soon as everyone passes, now if everyone passed except one player, they can continue to play as many cubes as they have until they're out. So as soon as everybody passes or everyone's out of cubes, we stop and we find out the answer. So for the strongest earthquake, what we're going to find is this is in the area of the Andes. Now each one of this also has some historical information about when it happened, what happened, and so this happened in the Andes. So what happens is basically the person who got it right is going to get 7 points, and everyone that's adjacent to this is going to get 3 points. So this South Pacific is adjacent to the Andes, so is this, so is this, so is this, so is this. These are the only two that aren't the Andes or adjacent to the Andes, so these will get removed from the board. And they get put into sort of this stockpile off to the side of the board. And when you're exactly correct, you get 7 points. If you're adjacent, you get 3. So red's going to get 7, blue's going to get 3 and 3, so 6. Green is going to get 3 and 3, so 6, and yellow's going to get 3. So after scoring just the area side, we have 7, 6, 6, 3, and those two did not get anything. Then we come down to the year, and it happened in 1960. Now 1960 is right there, so either one of these is actually correct if they were there. This one is adjacent to this, so green will get 3 and white will come off the board. So white comes off, and green would get 3. 1, 2, 3, leading with 9. Then we look here, and the magnitude was a 9.5 on the Richter scale. 9.5, so it's going to be this purple was correct because it went from 5 to 10. So purple's going to get 7, and these two are adjacent, so they're going to get 3. So purple would move up to 7, and red would get 3, and yellow would get 3. So at the end of the first round, that would be the score. Now all that's left on the board are cubes that were either correct or adjacent to being correct, which essentially in this game is also correct. So all these cubes kind of go in the middle. Everyone gets to take these cubes back into their hand for the different people that are running those colors. Now here's the wrong cubes that came off. Everyone gets to pull 1 of their cubes from here back. So blue would get all of his cubes back. White is short 1 cube. So white would only have 4 to play with this next round. Now, if for some reason at the end of a round, after you only have 2 cubes left, or maybe you only have 1 cube left to play with, you always get back from the stockpile off the board up to 3, so you always have 3 guesses per round. But as you get down and you have less guesses than other people, it might be worse for you. Now this itself would be the end of the first question, so I would just take this out. You're doing 6 of these in the game and then it's over. Now let me show you some of these other ones. Biggest Ferris wheel, you're looking for the area, the height, and the number of passenger gondolas. Second largest island, we're looking for area, length, and population. Bikini Atoll, this is the area nuclear weapons test began in which year, and the number of islands. And we'll just flip through a bunch of these. Stonehenge, and the tallest minaret, and largest rodent, oldest mummy ever discovered, second highest mountain, lake, I can't read it, more things I can't read. But again, it's always showing you the general area that it's in, longest uninterrupted escalator, and there's 300 because these are double-sided total of these. All right, there's Terra. Now, historically, trivia games are one of those things that people used to love to play, and you'd find Trivia Pursuit in everybody's house, everywhere, pretty much. But then it would go on forever because the questions were really hard and you had to get them exactly right. And if you're not getting them right, you just stop there. And over the course of time, trivia games have evolved, okay? And now this one is a nice twist, I'd say, on general trivia or general knowledge. And I like it quite a bit. It's based off of a game called Fauna, which is very similar to this, but about animals. And that was, I believe, nominated for the Spiel des Jahres back in 2009. I like this, and I'm not a general knowledge type of person very much, but I'll tell you why I like it. This essentially, as I mentioned, is like a gamer's trivia or a gamer's party game, if you will, in that category. Because you really feel like not only are you trying to get the knowledge and get things right, but it's really like you're playing like a little bit of an area control game when you play this game. Because you're sitting there and the card comes out, and most of the time you might have a kind of an idea of where things are, or what some of the answers are, but you might not know for sure. Once in a while you might know for sure, and everyone kind of goes for those things. But for a lot of times you're kind of just, and I like how the cards give you that, hey, this is generally in the Northwest. Because other than that, this game would be impossible, right? It gives you these sort of segments of the board which kind of help you in the area side of things. And I really like it because it's like, okay, if I'm first to go and I have a good idea, that's great, right? But if I'm not first and a couple of spots have been taken, it's like, okay, I think, as I showed you the example of in that earthquake, we did that earthquake and you're like, okay, I have a pretty good feeling that it's probably in that Andes region and everyone's already surrounded to me. I'm the last player of the round. If I try to go and grab maybe one of these adjacent points, it's not going to come back to me again for another 5 players. So I'll let everyone else do one thing, and I'm gonna go after the Richter scale. And then everyone starts to follow. It's this interesting dynamic that happens. It's like one person sort of starts off in one area, and a lot of people sort of try to, like, it's almost like they're saying, I kind of believe you. You seem strong, you seem like you know what you're doing. I'm gonna go next to you, or because you might know what you're doing. And then you'll see like one person goes somewhere else, and then everyone starts flocking to that. And it's very interesting. It's almost like people like jump from one thing to another, depending on what people do. So I like that there's like this interaction of follow the leader. Someone has an idea, they look like they know what they're doing, they placed it strongly, and everyone follows. And I like that. I like the aspect of it, of, again, not only deciding where to go, but it's like that feeling when you're playing, actually, when you're playing a worker placement game, and someone goes where you want to go, and you're like, oh, I was gonna go there. You get that feeling a lot in this game. So it feels like an area control game in a way, because I got this area, but it also feels almost like a worker placement game where you're placing something and someone takes your spot and you're like, oh, okay, I'll go somewhere else. I'll go there. And the next guy goes, oh, I was gonna go there. So it's quite a unique game. And it's why I'm actually gonna keep this in my collection, because I don't have anything like it. Now, I did play this with my normal party version, family, and they all just love party games. And they love Wits and Wagers. I wanted to see how they did with this. They enjoyed this game. They liked it. I asked, they would all play it again. If I brought it out there, they would play it. They said, it's just a more serious gamer type of trivia game where Wits and Wagers are sort of giggling. Someone's going to be exactly right every time because someone's there. This time, most of the people are going to be right, at least on the area. The other ones, some people might not get anything right on some of those. So if you're taking this to like a party where people that don't play games, they'll probably like it. It might be a little heavy for like a party scene, but it's still good and they might still enjoy it. I think this really shines with gamers that also like Wits and Wagers. So if you like the Wits and Wagers type of thing, but you're a gamer, I think this is right up your alley because it has that trivia side of things, but yet you still feel like you're playing sort of a Euro game. So that's it. My family really, they would rather play Wits and Wagers, but they'd gladly play this if I pulled it out. So that's kind of like that, but the gamer people love this. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was a really good game. Definitely going to be keeping it. And because of it's so unique and because I'm keeping it, let's induct this into my gaming library properly with a saxophone serenade.